Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Curran. It is my privilege to serve as the president of Rockhurst University, and it's a distinct honor and privilege to welcome you to campus and to welcome back many to campus. You will see that there is a significant presence of Rockhurst folks here with us today, most especially on the stage, as we welcome back first our mayors, Mayor Joseph Reardon and Mayor Sly James. We are very proud of both of these gentlemen for what they are bringing to our communities, but the presence of mayors does not end with these two gentlemen. We have another Rockhurst alumnus, Carson Ross, the mayor of Blue Springs, is also here. When we approached Mayors Reardon and Mayor James about coming back to campus, they readily agreed to that, and they readily agreed to be a part of this day when we said we want to host this at Rockhurst University and draw upon something that is very near and dear to us as a Jesuit institution. Rockhurst University is one of the 28 Jesuit universities and colleges in the United States. We have a certain way of proceeding, and that way of proceeding includes the engagement of everything around us as a conversation. So that when we welcome students or we welcome alumni back to campus, we recall that notion of what it means to proceed as a Jesuit institution in terms of conversation. And there are some principles around that conversation. One is that we listen very attentively, that we speak very respectfully, and that we recognize the truth in what others say. And fourthly, when we have something that is contrary to what the person with whom we are engaged in conversation has to say, we do that in a very humble and thoughtful way. They're the ground rules, if you will, for the way we proceed and operate. And we thought it was most appropriate to invite back Mayor Reardon and Mayor James to come here to campus to speak about how these two gentlemen have clearly articulated their vision for their respective jurisdictions and our region, and how we will all be the beneficiaries of that. We thought we would round out this conversation with another person who's very involved with Rockhurst University, Greg Graves, who's also an alumnus of our MBA program, and Greg also serves as a trustee of our university. Greg Graves, as you know, is the CEO and chairman of Burns and McDonnell, and he will lead us in this civil discourse. Greg Graves.
Okay, so let's talk about Rockhurst for a few minutes. As a member of the Board of Trustees, Rockhurst is pretty darn proud these days to have the two of you as graduates in the leadership positions you've attained. I know that in my years of coming to Rockhurst to get my MBA as part of that program, some of the things that impact me as a person and in business are the incredible people you're around for all those years, the people you meet, the friends you keep forever, especially in a business environment. And the other thing that I've never forgotten was the day a priest said in our ethics class, good business and duty are not mutually exclusive in this country. And I think too often people, I hear the comment, it's just business, almost insinuating that it's okay to take advantage or not to do the right thing for the regional scope or your nation or your faith or whatever. And so I always come back to that concept of you can be a person of duty and be one heck of a business person or mayor or whatever it is. So talk about your time at Rockhurst, how it shaped you as a person, and maybe how it prepared you to be mayor. Go for it.
Well, first and foremost, I met my wife here, Amy. She's here. She's over by Father Curran. So I'd have to say that was one of the most significant things about Rockhurst. So
Get Amy's take on that in just a minute.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, please don't bring her up. I might get in trouble immediately. So, and John Yurchek on my staff is a graduate from here as well. So there's plenty of Jesuit influence in my office on a daily basis. Really what I would say is I look at the job that I do today, and I have great memories of being here. It was 4 of the best years of my life, quite frankly. But I think that's what's instructive to me, and what I've learned after being mayor for 6 years and elected office for 8, is that Rockhurst helps ground me in what I do. And, if you look at what's going on the national level and how political it is and divisive, at every moment in time, when you're serving as mayor, you have decisions to make. And, I think of it in terms of, how are you going to govern? And I think, Rockhurst in its influence on me in the sense of really leading me to make decisions around governing and governance that are for the good of the community and really speak to the duty that I hold in my office is probably a core value that I probably learned here more than anything. And quite frankly, the institution gave me a chance to grow personally as well. And I think that focus on not just the knowledge, but knowledge coupled with, individual growth, and then having a moral compass in a sense of contribution to society are the things that I hold most precious to me in my experience here, and it's been extremely rewarding. Sly?
Thank you. Well, I had the opportunity to come to Rockhurst after spending 4 years in the Marine Corps, so I had one concept of service as a result of my time in the Marine Corps, and then I came to Rockhurst, where I also met my wife, who's not your wife, by the way. But she's unable to be here this evening, but so it's pretty obvious that Rockhurst was a pretty good place to pick up women. Even for those of us who were challenged by something less than handsomeness, Joe. The concept of service is what was ingrained in me at Rockhurst, where it didn't matter who your parents were. It didn't matter how much money you came from or didn't come from. You were expected to engage in some form of service to those who were in need of some form of service. And it wasn't something that you did grudgingly. It was something that you did happily. It was also a place where we were able to have free-flowing discussions about different ideas, where we could disagree with each other without being really mean and nasty about it in a controlled environment. Rockhurst was a place where I had an opportunity to take another step in my personal growth. It was a place where some of the Jesuits taught me how to drink scotch. There's no doubt. It was a place where I had a second experience in my life of meeting people who came from different areas of the country and finding out that some of the myths or stereotypes you had about other places, other people who looked different than you, spoke differently than you, were busted pretty quickly by the reality of having close contact with them and being able to talk to them about their lives. It was a place where, once again, it was reinforced after the Marine Corps that people are people. We all bleed red. We all want success for our children. We all want happiness in some form or fashion, where we all basically crave for each other's company. And it was a place where I learned that, and it was very comfortable to learn it, but it was also a place that was intellectually challenging. It was a place that helped my spirit in terms of providing me with a level of spirituality that I did not necessarily have when I got here. It was a place that was extremely important in my life and a place for which I am grateful to have been.
Wow. So let's be honest, though. Do you think in politics it could ever hold you back?
Could ever hold us back?
Could ever hold you back? Civil discourse, your approach to the mayor's race, your approach to governance, could it hold you back?
I don't know. I'm not sure if I know what you mean by hold you back, Greg.
Cost you an election?
You know what? You have to understand something. I kind of went into that election personally saying that there's only so much I'm willing to do to win, period. Because at the end of the day, I have to remain relatively true to myself. That's why when people were coming up and saying stuff like, well, you can't win with a name like Sly, you've got to change that, you can't do that. I've never heard of a politician, and black too, my God, with a name like Sly, next thing you know, you'll be singing something about a song that was in the 60s or something. And I said very simply, I ain't changing my name, and if you're that uncomfortable, vote for somebody else. It's just that simple. When you start allowing people to tell you who you are or should be, then you start trying to make efforts to become that person, which means you're no longer yourself. So I wanted to do this. I thought it would be a great thing to do. I was fortunate, in all honesty, that I knew that if I didn't, that Mike would, and that having Mike there meant that I would find a way to be involved, just as Mike knew that having me there, he would find a way to be involved. So it wasn't like an all or nothing. I knew there was a very good option. But the bottom line is that we deserve more than people who are simply good at tearing somebody to shreds to be in elected office. We deserve people.
Exactly. Joe?
You know, my sense of it is that you're here because you believe in the concept of leadership that's involved in a way that's thoughtful and that governance plays a role. I think there is a practical reality, and that is that politics is more divisive today than it has been in the past, and that for many people that are out there in the middle that don't find themselves on the edges of that, of politics, they've tuned out. There are a lot of folks that, and I understand why. I mean, there are a lot of folks that are just not as engaged that need to be engaged, and I think that that's what we're seeing that most evident at the federal level. But I think you're seeing that it's clear. You're seeing that at the state level, and my fear is that even when you get down to local government and politics, you're going to there's the potential for that to occur as well. And so I think that while we've got leadership in this region right now that's ready to sort of roll up their sleeves and govern and do that in a way that's collaborative, there absolutely is a risk to that in my mind. And it's really going to take us collectively to say we've got to go to a different place in order for this to work. Because the lessons learned at the federal level, to me, most recently, are not positive. And I don't think that's, I mean, we've been down this venture a little bit in this region where we drew lines in the sand or across the state line. And it was leading us nowhere. I think what we're seeing now is a momentum here locally to say let's go a different way. I hope that catches on. Certainly the politics at the federal level, we're not there yet. That's been clear for the last couple of weeks.